Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I'm Lipsy, and if you're coming back, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me for you to come back and watch me again. So today is a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about my learning to drive experience. So if you've learned to drive, you know how it works. You do a couple of lessons, you do your theory test, you do a couple more lessons, you do your driving test. Now, it was a little bit different for me. So I started off with an instructor. We're gonna call him Dave. So I started with Dave and we got off to a kind of okay start. We didn't get along that well, and that's a really big point. Like if you have a driving teacher or a driving instructor, whatever you want to call him or her, you gotta make sure that you get along and you can spend a lot of time together, because I mean you're in this tiny little tin thing basically for an extreme amount of time, just over and over again. So it's really important that you get along with your driving instructor. I didn't take this into account, so myself and Dave didn't get along that well, and I was doing my test in an area called Brecon. Now Brecon is very tight, windy roads. It's not it's not a city. It's a little tiny village-ish town, okay? So a lot of people do recommend that you don't do your test in Brecon. I just thought, oh, you know, it's closer to me, it's smaller, less test routes.
I was wrong.
I went and I did my test in Brecon. You know, my theory test. I did my theory test 3 times. Okay? Now, your theory, I may have a different opinion to other people, but it's luck of the draw. Your theory test is luck of the draw. Some people get easy ones, some people get hard ones. My first 2 tests were ridiculous. They were asking me about CO2 emissions, you know, all these things I had no idea about. But I went in on my 3rd test and I passed, and then 2 lessons later I was on my practical test. Now, the day before my practical test, my instructor actually said to me, I don't think you're ready. I think that you should take a little bit more time to learn. So I thought, well, you know, I got my practical test tomorrow. I'll give it a go and see what happens. So I went and I did my practical test, which I had 8 minors and a major in. My major, now this is the part that I still don't think is right, and I'm glad that it was right. Or was it? I'm glad that the instructor thought I did wrong, because otherwise I would have probably died by now. But there was a cat, okay? So the road I was on, well, where do we drive? In the UK we drive on the left side. So I was on the left side of the road, and on the right there was a cat, okay? So this cat was walking up the road and I was in the left hand side and there was cars in front of me, so I had to go into the right hand road, okay, the right hand side of the road. So I had to overtake these cars. They were parked and I went to overtake, and upon overtaking, this cat went into the left hand side. So I thought, I can't swing back in there now, so I was turning right anyway. So I stayed in the right hand lane because there was no point in me going back into the left hand to go back into the right direction. It's really hard to explain that, but I had a major because I didn't go back into that lane and there was a cat. So I'm happy to fail a driving test because I saved a cat's life. Let's be honest, I'm a hero. And I got back from that test and I said to my mother, I can't do anything with Dave anymore. He used to shout if I used to do things wrong, and he wasn't the most pleasant person to be around. And that's okay because a lot of people love him, and you know, he makes a lot of money. Obviously it was a Clash personalities, it wasn't him personal. So I decided to go with my new instructor. Let's call him Ian. Now Ian is fabulous. He lives on the road from me. Ian is a driving instructor. He has been for years and years and years. And I went to his house. I was like, I need your help. I can't drive and I have a theory test and it'll go, and he was like, right, let's get in the car, see what you're doing. I couldn't drive the toffee. My driving skills were dreadful. I didn't know any of the show me tell me questions. I couldn't manoeuvre a car to save my life. I only knew 3 out of, well, I can't remember how many manoeuvres there are, but I knew 3. I knew reversing around the corner, parking, forwards. Didn't even know parallel park, okay? So I get in the car with Ian. Ian teaches me how to drive. Lovely stuff. It took me about 2 weeks. I think I did a lot of hardcore lessons, like intensive course. I did an intensive course. So I did my test. Now I remember getting down to the test centre and I was incredibly anxious. And I'm not an anxious person, but something about my driving lessons just got me and I freaked out. So I remember my mother had actually bought me this little, in Holland and Barrett, you can get this little tube and you squirt it in your mouth. It's like a spray and it's called Calms. And it's got kind of like, you know, things that relax you in it. I don't know what was in it, but it tasted disgusting. But I just took it because I thought, if it can relax me, it'll relax me. So, get to the test centre, sat down, you fill out like a tiny little form. And the guy came around the corner and called my name. So he's there now, you know. He was quite stern. I'm a jokey person, so he called my name and I thought I'd be a complete joke and I was like, and then I said, oh, that's me, you know, just to kind of get him to laugh and to see if he was, you know, up my street. Well, he wasn't, and he was very headmasterish. Not in a kinky way, you know. He was headmaster in the most kind of I'm scared way, and we decided to go off and read the number plate before I filled out the form for him. So I walked outside and I remember looking directly at this car and he was like, can you read that for me? There's someone outside my window who's just... So I went up to this car and I stood in the right amount of distance from it and I read the number plate. I can't remember what the rest was, but on the last letter I said EMF. Okay, so I remember thinking, maybe he hasn't noticed, maybe he'll just think I said F. The letter was F, okay, so he looks at me and he was like, did you just say EMF? And I thought, perfect opportunity, gonna make him laugh, gonna get along. And I was like, I think so. And he went, there's no such letter as EMF. So I was like, okay, sorry, yes, I meant F. A little bit nervous, you know. He didn't say much. Then we got in the car. After we got in the car, I put my hands on the wheel, as you do, and I took one off to put the ignition on. And I put the ignition on and I started the car. Now, I was reversing back out of this space. I decided to do that because I am good at reversing. I was good at reversing. So I reversed out, and as I kind of turned the wheel in this way, I let go because I was scared, okay? Now, I don't know how I became so anxious at this point, but when I let it go, I just grabbed it at any point that I possibly could, okay? So I just grabbed it and it was still at an angle. So I'm reversing back out now and I just decided to go hell for that then, spin it the other way so I could pull off. And that's when I drove headfirst into the gate of the test centre. And I turned to the instructor and I said, what happens now? And he just looked at me and he was like, you've crashed the car. And I was like, yeah, I know, like, I can see. Like, the whole bonnet was indented by the gate. And I was like, do I continue with this lesson? Do you still want me to drive, you know? And he was
like, well, you know, on a usual driving test, if someone crashes the car, what do you think happens?
So I was like, well, have I failed? And at this point, the guy is like,
what do you think?
And I'm like, no, mate. I'm not playing games. I'm not going out on a lesson with your stubborn ass if I failed a test. I'm not wasting 45 minutes of my life. So at that point he kind of admitted defeat and he said,
Yeah, you failed.
and I drove back. Well, I didn't drive back, I just reversed back into the space. My instructor came out and looked at me dead in the eye and laughed, because he could see that I'd wrecked his car essentially. And he said to me, right, do you have anyone who can pick you up? So my dad came in and he picked me up and we went home. And in the following week I booked the driving lesson, and this was a lovely time. I got so nervous at driving the instructor's car after I wrecked it. I learned for that week and drove my test in my little yellow Nissan Micra, and I passed. But the good thing was, okay, so on your lesson you don't have to have your driving instructor with you. So I went with my dad, and my dad was like, you're not gonna pass, you're just going to for the experience, you know, you're going to learn how to drive a car on test. Even if you crash, you just go out and you do it after that. So I went out, and I remember getting back to the test centre and pulling up, and the guy was like, you passed. And I remember thinking, oh my god, like I passed. But I saw my dad and I had to pretend like I was like upset, because you know I'm that dramatic child. And I looked at my dad in the eye, I was like, and he looked at me and he was like, you've done it. And I was like, I passed my test. So I just stood there and I was like jumping around with my dad then in the test centre. But that guy who did my third test was actually my instructor from the second test. So he knew me and he knew that I crashed the car. So when I saw him, I was like, do you remember me? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay. But yeah, so my third time I passed my test and I was absolutely over the moon to do so. And yeah, that's my driving test story. So maybe I was the only person ever to crash before leaving the test centre. You never know. Okay guys, so thank you for listening to my little story, and if you want to go look at my videos, just go into my channel. If you enjoy my videos, leave a little comment below, leave a thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe and hit that notification bell so that every time I upload a video you get a notification. And last of all, never let anyone dull your sparkle. Bye guys.